And we are back to here on the Wrestling Rewind. Again, I haven't done ads yet, Dave. I will.
Yeah,
Very
no,
soon.
I'm sure you will.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll still be on the show by the time you do ads.
Eventually ads will be done. So we're going to go back 20 years or 19 years to WWE.
Good Lord. I just realized how long ago that was.
Yes, 19 years ago, May 24th, 2001, when WWE was still known as WWF. And this is SmackDown. Commentators were Michael Cole and Taz. Ring announcer Tony Chimmel, which I actually didn't realize Tony Chimmel was on the show at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the scene of the third ever TLC match. Do you laugh the way I say third? Yeah.
There was that. I tried to stifle it.
No,
I did. I tried to
just
stifle it.
It's just like, man, I'm Irish. Come on, like this is just
No,
how we speak.
it's fine. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I say that listeners on Phoenix FM are like, what is he possibly trying to say right now? So I get it.
Okay, so this wasn't SmackDown Extreme, which is another show which we'll talk about.
Yeah, you confused me with that. I was like, what is he talking about? But I did like this show.
Yeah, SmackDown Extreme is when they replaced all the ropes and pretty much made it look like Raw, but it was called SmackDown Extreme. I will try to find that. We'll probably talk about that after Adam's show, because I do like SmackDown Extreme. This was something else. This was
We're doing that next Tuesday, by the way.
What? With Adam?
Yeah. Are we? So I gotta watch a lot of Japan this weekend. Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Thanks.
And if not, we will do SmackDown Extreme, because that's also fun. So once we confirm, we'll let you know on our social media. Yeah. So look.
Okay.
This was a show. This was a show that came after the ratings drop that happened pretty much when Austin came out and killed all the Hardys and Lita with a chair, like absolutely decimated them. So the ratings fell through the floor because people don't like watching men destroy women in general. So
this was also heel Austin time. This was not.
Yeah, but this is when the line was crossed where Austin literally just killed Lita with a chair, and it wasn't good. So the ratings fell through the floor. So this was WWE's reaction to it, where they're like, "Look, we have to get people back watching the show, week to week." And this
nothing does that like Kurt Angle versus Spike Dudley.
Well, nothing does that like a TLC match for some reason.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
And remember, we'd only seen 2 before this point. So,
no,
we'd only seen 2 TLC. Yeah, well, look, the others don't count because they're not TLC matches.
Yeah, but come on, the WrestleMania match that happened in this same arena, not too shortly before.
But that was a triangle ladder match.
It was a triangle ladder match. However, it is whenever they show TLC matches, it's the shot of Edge spearing Jeff Hardy that they always show.
But that was a TLC. That was at WrestleMania 17. That was a TLC match.
What the heck was the
triangle ladder match? Was WrestleMania 2000. The first ladder match with
that's not where that spot was.
No, that was from WrestleMania 17. Yeah,
I know wrestling.
It's okay.
I'm qualified.
See, this is the time period. You didn't watch at this point, man. This is why we're doing
this. I've seen this stuff.
Yeah.
For some reason I mixed
it up. But you don't understand. This is ingrained in my memory.
Gotcha.
I don't need to watch this again. It's already there. So yeah, I know it quite well. Because of my childhood, basically. But what was interesting about this was finally Jericho and Benoit had teamed up as a theme. So they never actually done it before. They had a phenomenal ladder match at Royal Rumble at the start of the year, which if you haven't seen it, absolutely go see it. It's unbelievable. So to see them in the mix here was super cool. So yeah, Benoit, Jericho, Edge, Christian, the Dudley Boys, the Hardys for the WWF World Tag Team Championships in a table, ladders, and chairs match. Now, Dave, what do you think about this? Like, as a match first, what did you make of this?
Okay, not comparing it to the other TLC matches.
Not yet. We will get to it. I guess standalone.
Yeah. It's cool because I have to take myself back in time and remember that this is the first time TLC was ever on broadcast television. Yeah. This is the first time that they ever did one of these matches in front of a much larger audience than would have tuned in for a pay-per-view. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, that said, the person who had to recap wrestling for many, many, many years in me gets annoyed every time I see a ladder get set up not under a belt, because I'm going, okay, what spot's coming out of here right now? And there was a lot of that in this match.
There was
an obscene amount of setup in this match.
But that's what these matches were. These were just spot fed. Like the whole point of this was lads kill each other for 90 minutes.
Right. No, I get that. I do understand that, but I think the suplex that, oh my gosh, I can't remember who it was. I think Bubba delivered to one of the Hardy Boys, maybe.
Yeah,
off the ladder. I think it was to Jeff. Yeah,
it was Jeff. Yeah, it was off a ladder.
Because Matt had done it the Twist of Fate to Jericho. Okay, so I thought that was a perfect move, and that was a move that made me go, "That's insane." Because first of all, why on earth would you take that? Other than the fact that they were 20 years younger than they are now. I did not like Edge spearing Jericho off the ladder. I thought that made no sense. Like, why is Jericho reaching for the title when he's 10 feet away from it? So as a match itself, oh my gosh, it was fun. I loved it. I would watch this every week if it wouldn't mean that wrestlers would be constantly out with injury. I don't really have any complaints about it. I mean, I can be smarky and complain, oh, there are lots of setups and stuff, but so what? It's wrestling. Let there be. I don't mind. I would have liked to see more done with now, see, it's hard not to compare. I would like to see a lot more done with tables because they'd incorporate them in really cool ways in the past. But other than that, it was fun. I will say, I appreciate the fact that in early ladder matches, the title or whatever seemed to be suspended higher above the ring than it is nowadays. Nowadays, it feels like you can go up to the third rung from the top and reach it. And it seems like in early ladder matches, you had to go up to the second rung from the top. And I think that just adds to the peril.
Yeah, it was for a number of reasons. The main one being the guys didn't, they were like, no, we're actually gonna go for this, and we're gonna try to do some crazy spots, and that's what they did. Like a lot of two things that you can notice from an early 2000s, late 90s Attitude Era match is that they were always trying to top, right? So even though this was on broadcast television, it still was a TLC match.
This was better than anything we watched on Payback.
Oh man, it was anything we watched. It was better than anything we watched all year from 2020.
Well,
for the most part. So look, and even ladder matches today, even going to the ladder match at WrestleMania, was better than that. And there was a lot of set up at that too. But you had 4 of the best teams ever, and I would say Jericho and Benoit are up there as 2 of the best anyway. But when they teamed, it was so fluid and natural that you're like, wow, why aren't these guys teaming all week? But then you realize they're Jericho and Benoit, so why would they team? And it just, I think having those 2 guys in as main eventers, because at this point they were main eventers. Jericho would win both belts at the end of the year, to put it into perspective. It added that
that's one of the things that hit me watching this. I was like, this is Jericho's gotten his initial big pop of coming to the company, but this is Jericho being, oh, I'm better than everybody, Jericho. So this is kind of like an interphase Jericho, which I really enjoyed seeing.
This is my favorite Jericho, because this is my childhood Jericho.
Okay.
Rockstar Chris Jericho, where he did the Ayatollah of rock and roll. That's for me. That's my favorite Jericho.
Oh, those promos against Stephanie. They're so good.
Oh, fantastic! And this is the era of that.
Yeah.
It's also May, so it's pre-invasion for the most part as well.
Teased it a little.
Absolutely. But they still wasn't. It wasn't happening yet. That wouldn't happen until the summer. WrestleMania, like obviously the purchase of WCW had happened, WrestleMania had happened, the purchase of ECW had happened, or else it was just about to happen. So we're starting to get this would kind of be the swan song, like the swan song of the Attitude Era had already happened at WrestleMania. So this is kind of like the reset before they went into the actual final
Yeah.
run of the Attitude Era.
That's so weird because there's nobody nowadays. There's no company that WWE would make a big deal about buying.
Actually, one thing that said it right. So there was a promo on, to go back to Payback. There was a promo on Payback, of all the companies that they had bought, and you're like, oh yeah, none of this matters. It's like none of this matters. You know, it's just it's funny.
No.
It's funny.
No, it really doesn't, because I mean, WWE. Why would they make a big deal out of buying like an AEW? The AEW is not beating them in the rate. Well, not beating them.
Actually, that's a good point. That's a good point, right? So for years there was a whole thing that Impact would be bought by WWE, and it was like, oh, what would that mean, really?
Right.
And I think people were like, oh, would there be an invasion? Not really. Kind of what we see now, where they play footage of AJ Styles. Actually, did you see that? What's Abyss's real name? Chris Park.
Joseph Parks.
Yeah, did you see that he's back on
Joseph A. Parks? Yeah.
Yeah,
he's AJ's lawyer.
He's on AJ's lawyer, which is amazing.
I love it.
But yeah, so that's kind of what would happen if WWE had bought TNA.
I did appreciate there was like some reference where they were asking, or I was watching WWE's The Bump,
right?
And they had asked AJ about, where'd you find this Joseph Parks guy? Like, has he been in the area for a while? And AJ was just like, yeah, he's been hanging around Orlando for a couple years, and he felt like the right thing, and it was like a cool little like play at it. But
that's good. I'm
saying like WWE would just do what they did with people like Styles and Eric Young and Bobby Bobby Roode and like all them. They would just wait for the company to collapse and then collect them.
And that's kind of what I think would happen if they bought AEW.
I don't think they would buy AEW. They would just go, okay, you want some money, Omega? Come on over. You want some money, Rhodes? Go screw yourself. Like, it would. I think that's how it would go, honestly. I don't think it would be this big, like, here come Omega and the Bucks to take over.
Yeah, no, I don't think that would happen, because, again, the reason why WCW was such a big deal was because they beat WWE.
Right.
ECW, in reality, I know we like the kayfabe it, but ECW are always WWF.
Yeah, they were being paid by WWE.
It was literally just, which is so ironic, really, when you think about it. You're like, well, this was just a scam that Paul Heyman was running.
He was running a scam the entire time.
He was running a scam, just working everybody.
And he couldn't even pay all of his talents.
No, it was literally just a WWE firm that he had worked everybody into believing that it wasn't. And I was just like, this is amazing.
It's the best way to do it ever. There was a segment on Raw, I think years ago now, where Jericho was actually got in an argument with Payman. It's like, I want my $50. Like from like 2000 or something like that. Or early 90s, late 90s. Like,
oh man. I just think it's so funny that, there was that mentality for years. It's like, oh, ECW was nothing like WWF. It's like, yeah, but it was funded by them. It's like,
it was.
And now we know, like, absolutely that was the case.
Yeah.
That's why they were there, because again, it was a WWE property,
Yeah.
So it really kind of does make you think, gets the noggin jogging. Right. We are at time here on the radio. So we're going to take a second break.
Oh man!
And go into overtime, which again, I promise the ads are coming.
If you're going to be an advertiser, and by the way, follow me on Instagram, because this never gets on the stupid radio part. I mean, the great radio part, but it never gets on there. Is what I'm saying. The stupid ad never. Just D. Dave Stevens, follow me.
D. Dave Stevens, follow Stevens. And look here, because I don't know what you're doing, because you should be listening to us live anyway. We tape every Tuesday, or record live every Tuesday on Twitch, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Go over to Nerd Media for more. And we'll be back next week here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, and we're going to swing back to finish this review in overtime. We'll see you in a second. Right, and we're back.
What on earth do we have to talk about? Stay tuned, everybody. Great stuff is about to occur.
I have a cool little overdrive thing that I made that I do pop in post. So You know,
Oh.
you get to enjoy that. And it's literally just a case of putting it to video, but I haven't done that yet. Again, look, guys, support us. Give us some money so, you know, I can justify spending the time to do these things because it takes ages to do video. So if you want to support, us, the best way to do it is you can PayPal us or you can go get us at Ko-fi.com. It's on the link there.
I don't even know what that is, but do it.
Yeah, it's you know, it's all good. Right. What I want to finish up here, Dave, is so as a match that compared to other ladder matches, where would you put this?
It's hard because that's like saying with Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon, like the best ladder match ever. No, but it was, you know, one of the first WWE at least. So like, yeah. So it's tough from that perspective. I when I look at like what a great TLC ladder match or TLC match would be, first of all, interested.
You're a fan of the
tables,
stairs,
ladders, and chairs.
Or the chair. Remember the big chairs that they used? It was like, what is this?
No, I mean, because you've got. I thought the second one was probably the best.
Yeah, I agree.
that they did talking about this era, and then I feel like TLC matches that we've seen as of late, it's kind of been how do we do what the originals did without copying them. I think the best one in the recent memory was probably like, what was it, 2016 Moxley versus Styles. I mean, that was
great match.
That was a great match. Nobody was expecting to see a springboard 450 to the outside of a ring through a table. Nobody was expecting Moxley to go back to his CZW finisher and throw Styles through stacked up chairs. I mean, this was crazy. So I liked that, and it felt different. So I feel like modern day TLC matches have to feel different in order to be memorable, versus this one was kind of setting the standard bearer that you would then judge matches against in later days.
But modern day WWE TLC matches kind of have, you know, unless you have a performer in there like in AJ Styles, they're very nerfed. Because TNA did a similar thing with the Full Metal Mayhem matches where they went their own way with them and they always felt unique. Like a TLC match, it's very easy to fall into it. Like we saw that at WrestleMania where there was a massive setup and that finished the match, but there was no crazy spots because stuff that these guys did. And I understand, you know, it's not worth going in and killing yourself or, you know, for a match.
Another huge difference. Stuff was not as gimmicked back then.
No, they're now. Absolutely.
Those ladders were
ladders. There was no sawdust. They were actually hitting each other with ladders and chairs and everything. And it was just, you know, you look like, I know it's hard to separate it, so I'm not going to use them. But even look at, you know, these guys are retired now. Look at the state of Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian. Like, you know, this is one of the reasons like Edge was retired for a while because he did so many of these matches.
Oh my gosh, how about that chair shot that Jericho took from Edge?
Oh my God! Like you see those chair shots and you cringe because you know the damage that it's done. You know
that's why I cringed when Perry Saturn earlier in the show came out and was doing like a whole like, oh, I'm concussed thing.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know if that's
not
funny.
Good.
Is that funny? And then they're like, oh yeah, Jericho's getting over a concussion from last week. I'm like, what? What are you doing?
Well, one of the worst things about that was there was a match with Rhino and Raven from Backlash, and it's actually a phenomenal match, but there's a bit where there's a call from Jerry, of course there is, where Rhino takes a shot with something. He's like, oh, his brains have been scrambled so much he's going to forget where he lives, and you're like, that's horrific. Like, don't joke about it. You know, it's just absolutely. You're just sitting there going, oh my God. And I know in the Jerry King lexicon of things, that's like very tame. But it's like, oh, you know, does not age well.
Yeah, this is the first time I think I watched an old show where I didn't have too many cringe moments on commentary, and maybe it's because it was Taz and
it's Taz and Michael Cole.
It wasn't
King. Yeah, it wasn't King. So it's just like you're in good hands that you're not going to have cringy. Also, no funny signs, which was disappointing. We'll have to dig out a good show so we can.
Kane, by the way, was a monster.
Kane, this is Kane's peak as well.
This is Kane's peak, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
I love Rhino matches. Like in general, Rhino's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And he just works really well with Kane.
He just looks so weird.
What Rhino does?
He's got the weirdest body shape, man.
It does, but it's weird.
And it makes him a character, though, and I think it helps.
Well, he's not super big, but he's not super small, but he's able to work with both, and that's what I like about him.
He's
like
just,
he can have a great.
He's like some weird wrecking ball with muscles in places that I don't think muscles exist.
Yeah, and he can have a great match with the small guys or with monsters, and both are very believable. He's great. I love Rhino, and even to this day, he's still phenomenal. He's still killing it.
Absolutely.
And some other highlights on this: the intergender tag match is skip that. There's nothing to watch.
No, but you can watch the backstage segment with Trish Stratus.
Yes, you can. And it's funny because this is before Trish Stratus became an actual wrestler. So this is what she did, and you're like, right, we're in the Attitude Era kind of still,
kind of.
But the right to censor, if they were,
can we talk about the pyro going off when Trish Stratus decides to do the worm?
Yeah.
Like what?
It's so mature, so mature.
So mature.
So mature. And if King had been there, he would have been screaming. All the stuff. So it's just like that's probably why he wasn't there, because Taz was able to control himself.
Somebody was like, "Keep the camera on Trish," and that was as glued as it got. So I appreciate that.
So it wasn't too bad. Kurt Angle killed Spike Dudley.
Absolutely demolished him.
Absolutely demolished him. And then for some reason, X-Pac beat Eddie Guerrero, and this is one of the weird period before Eddie Guerrero was like injured again. So it's like, okay.
Whenever I watch, especially wrestling from around like 2016 to 2018 in the independent scene, I see a lot of moves and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen those before. But now going back and watching this stuff from that millennial period, Eddie did a move where he flipped over the guy's back because he was standing there. And I was like, oh, like these moves aren't new. They just stopped doing them for 10 years and now they're bringing them back.
No, what happened was the young fellas that were watching it, who were wrestling then, grew up watching this, and then started copying.
But then why was there a gap? Was it just Eddie got too old to do that kind of thing?
No, a little bit, but also the style of wrestling had moved away from that.
Right.
Because think about Eddie died 4 years after this.
Right, 2004, right?
Well, 2004, 2005. So there was no one to do these moves with. Right. And then the style had moved around 2006, 2007 to being a more kind of big hoss kind of stuff with Batista and Cena leading the pack. So,
and JBL.
Yeah. So there you go. Like that's why it was.
Yeah, I guess so. It wouldn't really fit in as well.
It wouldn't fit in. So
it's still weird to see Perry Saturn on a card because I remember the 10-year, 15-year stretch where nobody knew where Perry Saturn was.
Because he was, that? But he was off saving people. Apparently, saved a bunch of women from being raped and stuff. So
right. But
absolute hero.
I'm not. Yeah, he is. Yes, but I'm saying, do you remember that period where people were like, we have
nobody knew where he was.
Saturn is.
No, nobody knew where he was.
The face of the earth.
Yeah, but that's what he was doing. He was pretty much a vigilante,
Yeah.
It's like, all right, fair enough, man.
Right, we know that now, but at the time, people were legitimately concerned.
Yeah, no, he was just off kind of being like weird homeless Batman,
A weird homeless Batman.
Yeah.
If Batman was homeless, he never could have afforded to be Batman.
No, absolutely not. No. It's just... but yeah, so look, man, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot more than Payback. So I don't know, I'm kind of glad we had a palate cleanser because that show would have just been negative.
Yeah, and this is what we mean by we're the only fans that don't hate wrestling.
Because we don't watch
so much wrestling out there to watch and enjoy. You don't have to hate it. Can you be me? Can you go on Facebook and rant about the fact that AJ Styles wasn't on the pay-per-view and get 20 comments? Yeah, that'll happen. People tell me to watch Impact, but whatever. So the point is,
the thing about it is, it's this show is great because we don't have to watch. We personally choose when we want to drop in and watch modern wrestling.
Derek chooses. I'm currently banned.
There's a reason why you're banned. There's a reason why. I choose until you make better choices, and then you're okay.
Yeah.
Still, it's gonna take a while to get over that, Dave. But
listen, y'all should go watch World War III.
Do not go to watch World War III again. To this day, I'm like, why did he want us to watch it? And it was for one moment,
for one match. My match.
Yeah, but like, you know, we have a bunch of good stuff coming up. There's no WWE pay-per-views until Clash of Champions, which
Thank God.
They messed up the actual date apart, like on the show. I was watching it.
That.
And I was watching it and I'm like, wait, hold on, what just happened? And I went back and I'm like, oh, they absolutely messed up the date. So apparently it is on the 27th, which 2 days before my birthday. So woo.
Oh yeah, well, if it's 2 days before your birthday, that means that Tuesday we'll have to have not a show on Tuesday.
fair enough. We'll take it off. But yeah, so that's kind of the only WWE wrestling we have coming up, and I think AEW is doing a show for a while. So
they did one this weekend. We just didn't recap it.
Yeah.
They did. Apparently, there was a mimosa match.
I don't know.
There was something with Orange Cassidy and somebody else, and the loser got thrown into a vat of champagne and orange.
Look, I'm happy just not knowing that's the thing, because I just.
So now who's not following the news?
No, I follow the news to a point, but I'm like AEW is just, you know, when I dropped out of AEW basically as like a week-to-week fan is when I went to Disneyland over in Christmas.
Yes,
and I was working so much because it was Black Friday and stuff like that. And for me, that's the end of the year, right? But I hadn't watched AEW in like 4 or 5 weeks, and I didn't miss it once. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I realized AEW really isn't all it's cracked up to be. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But what I will say is, for anyone who's listening, guys, if you're listening on YouTube, Twitch, or if you're checking us out on the audio streams, let us know what you want us to cover. Because this is important. Like we pick the show basically a week out, unless it is a pay-per-view or something like that. And we kind of decide. So let us know in the comments below. Email us nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com. Tweet either myself or Dave. You can tweet Dave at @DDaveStevens, or you can tweet me at RWB, or you can tweet the show. All this kind of stuff you can do. And we will, if we can get access to it. So if it's on the network, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll be able to find it. And yeah, we will 100% do it. So we have a good 4 to 5 weeks, I think. Yeah, about 4 weeks where we're just going to be covering other stuff as well. So let us know what you think. Next week, more than likely going to have Adam on to talk some Japanese Brock Lesnar. And then the week after, we don't know. SmackDown Extreme probably. But that's still tentative. So, Dave, is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No, there's not.
Just
make sure you all go on the W Network and watch World War III.
All right, guys. Well, we'll be back next week here, same time.
And sign a petition to get Styles back in the WWE. I think
he hasn't gone anywhere. He's still there.
He might not be there. I'm not sure.
It's still